ever since I was young, I've always been a fan of James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. And lately I've seen products and games that he's reviewed that are really obscure that are being brought back. First of all, today, I was on my way home and I was listening to a YouTube video. And all of a sudden, an ad came on. And it was for a Chex Quest HD on Steam. Chex Quest HD? What is this? Why are they bringing back Chex Quest? Chex Quest is super obscure. It's a video game made by a cereal company. Why would they bring that back? Unless it was because of the recent Angry Video Game Nerd review. I mean, pretty recent. It's come out in the last year, I'm pretty sure. So that's plenty of time for them to remaster the game, if that's what it is, and release it. Another example. I was in Target one day, and all of a sudden, on the bottom of the games shelf, I saw a Mr. Bucket. Mr. Bucket? Why would they bring back Mr. Bucket? That's like a super obscure and pretty dumb game. I mean, I know it's for little kids, but I mean, the objective of the game is the most simple thing in the world. It's not even a game, really, you know. So, why else would they bring back Mr. Bucket unless it was repopularized by the Board James review? So, okay, there's another example, right? Well, in the same Target at the exact same time, I look over and I see a Crossfire game. Yet another game that's been reviewed on Board James. And I immediately realized this can't just be a coincidence. This has to be a correlation. James Rolfe's Board James has to have influenced these games to come out. No. I suppose the correlation is not a 100% guarantee, but I'm pretty sure that that's what's going on. Which I really love, because it's exactly what James probably wants. You know, him reviewing these old school things, and then them being brought back because of his impact. Which I think is just a testament to how awesome James Rolfe is. I mean, he's like one of my idols, for sure. He's like probably the coolest guy in the world to me. And so, if James ever watches this, that would be like the most incredible thing of all time. But, yeah, so that's the thing, is that I want to believe that that's what's going on, and so maybe that's also part of why I believe that, is because I have a bias towards that. But at the same time, it could also be that because I've invested into his stuff, I know and can pick up on things that he's done and things that are also obscure and put two and two together to figure out that that's probably what's going on. Because to the normal person's eye, I'm sure it's not 100% obvious that that's what's going on. If you haven't seen all of Board James and all of the Angry Video Game Nerd reviews, you wouldn't necessarily notice all of these things. If you have seen all of Board James, though, you should have a pretty good idea of these things, because I'm sure people who have watched all of Board James have also watched all of the Angry Video Game Nerd. So that's the thing, is that I feel like a lot of people who know James Rolfe's work would be able to pick up on that, but then others who don't know it as much would not be able to notice it. So the average person who's not into retro games and whatnot probably wouldn't notice. Because that's the thing, as big as James is, he still makes very niche content, as do I. And so it's very hard to get a super massive audience, you know. I mean, he was able to do that because he made really, really good content. He was super original. And that's why James is my favorite YouTuber of all time. You know, I grew up with this channel, you know. I mean, I started watching his stuff probably when I was around 10. So it's the perfect age, you know, all the cussing and whatnot. It's hilarious, you know, and you grow up with it and you start to, you know, kind of feel the same feelings of nostalgia as he does for the same games, because I've been playing Nintendo NES games since I was 8. You know, I actually saved up to get an NES when I was 8, so it was actually one of my first consoles. I mean, my first was like the Wii or my DS or something, a new console, because that's what was new when I was a kid. But the thing is that I was really interested in the retro consoles even when I was in like 3rd grade, which is when you're around 8. So I saved up money and bought an NES, and it was like probably the first thing that I had saved up for and bought, and it was definitely worth it because I've been hooked on retro games ever since, and I probably wouldn't have discovered James, at least not that early, when I was around, 10 or 12, 8, 10 to 12, anywhere around that age. I'm not quite sure when I watched the first video of his, but I know I started consistently watching them around 10 to 12. So I actually met James at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and I'll put a picture of that up here right now. But something that's super hilarious about that is that while I was in line, I kept going over different things that I was going to say to him. Like, okay, when I get there, I'm going to tell him this, this, and this, and, oh, no, actually, no, I'm going to tell him this, this, and this, because I wanted to make it quick and snappy because he's got a lot of people, and I didn't want to hold up his time, right? And so I get up to the front of the line, I finally get there, and, he is so cool to me that I just got super nervous and I froze up. And I basically just told him that I love his videos, and that, he's really cool to me. And then I just wasn't able to, I totally blanked on all the stuff that I thought I was going to tell him or ask him or whatever. I just went into autopilot like, oh, you're cool, great job, whatever, have a good one and stuff. I hope you're having a good time up here. Just, autopilot type stuff. But at the same time, I was actually glad that I didn't, have some weird spiel and hold up his time. I was just like, I just thanked him for signing my copy of the Angry Video Game Nerd movie. That is pretty sweet. So I did talk to him a little bit about that, but I asked him if he could sign it. And so that was some other things that were exchanged. But other than that, I didn't really want to hold up his time. I was already asking him to sign something. So I didn't want to really, that was part of it subconsciously. But also it was that I got nervous and I just forgot. I blanked, Because there was a huge line. It was crazy. And it's cool because he was going to the Portland Retro Gaming Expo. On his way back down to California, he actually stopped in Bend to the last Blockbuster.